Hey everybody, we are brought to you today by Audible. Get your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/JKWD. That's audibletrial.com/JKWD. May I suggest Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, by the great Richard Feynman, one of the smartest, most well-rounded individuals of our time. Not really our time, more like our parents' and grandparents' time. But still, you get the idea. Again, audibletrial.com/JKWD. Get a free audiobook, get a free month when you sign up at audibletrial.com/JKWD. We're also brought to you by BarkBox. Go to the show notes at joshshear.com/podcasts. Sign yourself up for a month using my link, and you'll get a month free. And I will too. Well, Rufus will. It's the black lab over here. Anyway, let us get on with the show. Hey everybody. I noticed that there are a bunch of new people here. I cannot thank you enough for joining me. Make sure you say hello at the show notes. Or on Twitter at Josh Shear. Show notes, again, are at joshshear.com/podcasts for this episode or any other episode. You don't have to jump in on this one. You can just pick a random one if you want. We'll get it. We get it. And if you've been here for the whole 11 months we've been doing this, also, I cannot thank you enough. It's so awesome that you're here. Hey, you might notice that it's a little later than we've been, and I decided to get back to where we started with this thing. When I first started, I would get up Thursday morning, and I would go out, and this morning I got up, and I ran 8 miles, and I came back and poured myself a beer. So I'm sitting here with a Delirium Tremens. It's a nice Belgian ale. It's like a bowl of cornflakes after a run, except 8.5% ABV. Yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I actually like when this beer warms up a little bit. So I'm going to just talk to you for a minute here. I get mistaken for a New York Democrat a lot. And once that happens, you kind of get stuck in these pockets, and people make assumptions about you and where you stand, and well, maybe they don't make assumptions about you, but they make assumptions about me. So I thought I'd go back to kind of where I came from and how I became who I became and doing what I'm doing. And so let's start with the fact, do not mistake me for a New York anything. I'm a born and bred masshole. You insult both me and the state of New York when you call me a New Yorker. If I gotta start calling everybody kid, I will. Don't make me do that. I hate it. But anyway, I'm not gonna start saying wicked anything. I won't even see the play. I like them apples. Anyway. I tend to lean progressive politically, but I also tend to favor common sense, science, and empathy. Those are the sides I choose. When it comes to... Here, we'll pick the hot button ones. How's that? When you talk about gun laws, right now, I think what we need to do is come up with a single federal license, and I think we need to do that because right now, if you are a responsible concealed carry holder here in Georgia, your permit means nothing in 28 states and in 21 others only by agreement. And if those states just one day decide, meh, we don't like Georgia right now, they're charging us too much for, I don't know, what do we export? Peaches, onions, oil, probably. We probably got some of that. Seafood. Somebody decides pecans. We definitely have pecans. Somebody decides, oh, well, our people are paying $15 a pound for pecans, and that's Georgia's fault. So we're going to just stop recognizing their licenses. Well, now you got to know where you can carry and where you can't and all that stuff. And if you can carry in Georgia and Wyoming but nothing in between, then your permit doesn't help you. So I'm all for just going ahead and federalizing that and simplifying it. I'm for fewer regulations in general. On that it would be 1 instead of 51 because each of the states has one. Has their own, and sometimes multiples. Also, D.C. is separate from Maryland or Virginia because it's its own municipality. And then actually even some cities within states, Chicago, New York, have their own regulations for firearms. And that's just silly. You should listen to Jesse Ventura talking about gun laws. His deal is must issue. If you apply for a concealed carry permit, you do not have a criminal, you do not have a violent history, you've never committed a crime with a firearm, then it's must issue. You're not subject to just some judge not liking you or not liking the way you look or something like that, or not liking what your brother-in-law said about you 10 years ago, something like that. So it's must issue and zero tolerance. If you have a firearm on you and you have a drop of alcohol in your system or a drop of any other drug, legal or illegal, marijuana, where it's legal recreationally or, heroin or whatever else, zero tolerance. You got anything in your system you shouldn't be carrying because your judgment is not sound. You need to have sound judgment when you're carrying a firearm. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's common sense, right? It's not we want to take your guns away. We just want to make them safer for everybody to have. Okay. What else? Abortion. See, this gets to science and empathy. Right? We know that from the numbers, this is just raw data, that when abortion is legal, the numbers don't go up. So if you look at the numbers pre-Roe v. Wade and now, and we're looking at abortions per 100,000, not raw numbers, because raw numbers doesn't make any sense when you're talking twice the population. Of course, the raw number is going to go up, but per 100,000 or even per 1,000, there's not a significant increase in the number of abortions. There's just a significant decrease in the number of people who die from them. I'm not pro-abortion, but I'm pro-choice. Most of the people you meet on the street aren't going, oh, abortion's legal, I'm going to get pregnant so I can go get an abortion. No, that's not how it goes. I'm sure it's a very, very difficult choice. But when it's safe and legal, then people can go ahead and not die from having them. It's just that kind of thing. If you see somebody in trouble, go help them out. We don't need laws for that. It's just I fall on the side of empathy. That's also why I, when I saw Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, took away some transgender protections in public schools earlier this year, I was just like, it doesn't matter. The protections are already there. It's not costing anybody anything. Just let people be. And I know it's a very small population, but mostly I just don't care. Why if the thing you're doing isn't hurting anybody, what was it, taking away a toilet for somebody? Or just making a couple of people uncomfortable, you know, just go ahead and run with it. You know, just let it be. You know, you don't need to legislate out protections if they hurt people. And like I said, in general, I'm for fewer regulations. I don't think that you should do heroin. I think it's dangerous. But I think if you want to go spend your money on some heroin, go home and shoot up and lay around for a few days, that's on you. You know, if we do like we do for alcohol, you know, I'm sitting here with my beer, but there's a legal limit on this stuff for driving, right? I'm not allowed to chug this 25-ounce bottle here, 750 milliliters as it were. I'm not allowed to chug this bottle in 20 minutes and then go out and drive. Right, we set a legal limit. So just let's set legal limits for drugs. You know, if you want to make people 21, hey, for marijuana, you want to make it 25, since we know that that's about when the brain is done developing. We know that from science, by the way. Hey, if you want to make that the smoking age, the token age, as it were, then go for it. That's fine. You know, set a legal limit, figure out how to measure it. Yeah, if you caught, you know, driving under the influence, if you're caught committing a crime against some other person under the influence, then that's a problem. But you should just kind of be able to do what you want. That said, I'm for a little government oversight, right? Like, we're not just going to build roads, right? That's what we have government for. You know, government's here as a service to us and that kind of thing. And, you know, a lot of this stuff gets pegged into that D column. But, man, I got to be honest, you know, I've been voting for 22 years now, and I've pulled the lever twice, and that shows you how long ago it was, because I was pulling levers for a Democratic president. Once for Bill Clinton's second term and once for Barack Obama's first term. All in all, going down everybody I've ever voted for, I've probably voted on the D line about 30% of the time and on the R line about 20% of the time. Most of that stuff is local, right? Like, I always sent John DeFrancisco back to the house when I was in Syracuse, because he did a lot of good. You know, Republican, did a lot of good for the arts in the area. But generally, I come across contrarian. You know, if I voted for Democrats 30% of the time and Republicans 20% of the time, I mean, 50% of the time I voted for, you know, for somebody in the Green Party or somebody in the Libertarian Party or somebody in the Independence Party or somebody in the Working Families Party. You know, or somebody who just threw an I next to their name, or I wrote somebody in. And I think that's not for nothing. You know, I come at life from a generally contrarian viewpoint. You know, talk to my mother about me in confirmation class. You know, when I was going through religious school, we were all supposed to bring in a reading, and everybody brought in these nice readings, and I brought in this poem about how you know God gave us hands, Mom says use your fork. Yeah, and the end of the poem was either God's wrong or else, you know, either Mom's wrong or else God is. And yeah, so she was somewhat embarrassed by the contrarianism, but I will tell you that poem was in every confirmation service until that rabbi retired. After that, it's perspective. I think that's what we need. We need perspective. We need nuance. We need to think about stuff and not put on jerseys and not be on teams. You know, we need to be on team people. And you know, we've got this government in the United States that is representative 536 people plus a tiebreaker run this country. And really, we just got it down to two teams, and whichever team has the most people just does whatever they want. It's kind of like war, but it's kind of not, because basically we're supposed to try to help everybody, right? If all of us, if some of us are doing well, like we all could be doing well, and you might have seen the blog post I wrote a month ago or so about regressing toward a higher mean. Like, for me to get better, I don't have to make you worse. Like, we can all get better. Like, we can bring the bottom up, and the top can go up, and the middle can go up. And most of us are in the middle, right? Like, there's the top 10% and the bottom 10%, and most of us are just kind of floating around in that 80% in the middle. Well, if the top 10, all right, let's just assign them a number. Let's give them 90, and let's give the bottom 10, 10, and the rest of us are at 50. Well, if we bring everybody up by 100, top people are at 190, and the bottom people are at 110, and the people in the middle are at 150, then we still have the 10% on the top and 10% on the bottom, and the 80% in between them. But now we're all a lot better off, and that's possible. Like there's not a finite amount of awesome in the world. I'm going to say that again. There's not a finite amount of awesome in the world. We can be better to other people. We can be better to ourselves. And man, I was going to keep rambling, but I think that's a great place to end. There is not a finite amount of awesome in the world. And I will see you next week.